Hi everyone, welcome to the show today. I just want to first start off by thanking you guys so much for all of your support, all of you new subscribers, the likes, the comments, the shares. It means so much to me. I just genuinely appreciate the community that we're building here, and if you are new here, welcome to the show. My name's Kaytlynn Ward and I'm your host. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and hey, even share this with someone who you might feel like could be inspired by today's content. Also, if you haven't already, hit that notifications button. Turn on your notifications so that you never miss an episode. We have new episodes every single Friday. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that really has been ruining a lot of people's lives, and that is running on empty. How many of you guys out there have let your car get so close to the E that you are running on empty, you are literally running on fumes, and you are just panicking at the very thought that you are going to break down on the side of the road? And typically when this happens, when you are running on empty, you find that there is not a gas station in sight. And I will say that I have done that a few more times than I would like to admit, but sometimes I feel like it's kind of like a game of like, how close can I get to the E by getting to when I get to the gas station? Well, that's not the point of today's episode, but honestly, I have only done that a few times in my life because it's so stressful to think, oh my gosh, I'm going to break down on the side of the road. I'm going to have to call my dad. I'm going to have to call my sister to come get me, to bring me gas and put in my car. And I just get so stressed out about it. But the thing is why do we do the same thing with our lives? Why do we constantly allow ourselves to run on E? Because when we run on E, we have this constant worry because we're just exhausted. We're overdone. We're overworked. We're, as some people say, burned out. I think it's because we're unaware of what's causing this problem in the first place that causes us to run on E. So I'm going to help you with that today. Today, we're going to address 3 problem areas that are causing you to run on E in your life and the fix to reverse those problem areas that have been up to this point ruining your life. Let's jump right in. Number 1, what is the problem point that causes you to run on empty in your life? Simply, you don't schedule anything. There are some of you that have plenty going on in your life, and the only thing that's on your calendar are the national holidays that Apple and Google automatically put in your calendar. You don't schedule anything. Jim Rohn once said this: either you run the day or the day runs you. Some of you are running on empty because you're not scheduling anything in your life and your days are literally just running over you. How do I know this? Well, I have a personal story and a personal experience. When I was younger, a few years ago, obviously I was younger a few years ago, but my younger siblings were still in high school and middle school, and they had a lot of high school sports, and they had so many different games, so many practices, and we had no schedule whatsoever. We literally were running insane because when it came to games, practices, camps, my family literally did not have it written down anywhere. We had the one sheet of paper that the school prints out and gives to you, put on our fridge, but it wasn't all in one place. And we would try to plan a trip. I would try to plan a certain weekend getaway, and I forgot, oh my gosh, my sister has a tournament, or oh no, we have something to do with her school, or we would try to plan something and we would literally have no clue what was going on in our lives. We would literally let our days run over us because we just didn't schedule it. We would have church events, we would have birthday parties, we would have school outings, we would have their rewards programs and stuff, and we were in so many arguments because we were exhausted and running on mere fumes all the time because we just didn't schedule anything. We were tired, we were worn out, we didn't plan any time for rest. Why? Because we didn't schedule anything. So finally, I decided to get this humongous 6-month calendar that we just had in a closet somewhere and put it on a wall that literally my family saw every day because I was tired of it. I was like, we have got to make this easier. And I literally put every single event, every single detail on that calendar. I put their basketball games, I put their track meets, I put their proms, their homecomings. I put every single thing on there and put the church events we had, put the birthday parties we had. And then I was able to see in a big picture, this is what's going on in my week. And you know what happened? You know what the result of this was? Within a week, the arguments, the stress seemingly just disappeared. Why? Because I scheduled my days. When I scheduled, I realized, oh, I have a really full week this week, so I'm not going to plan anything on this day because I need to rest. I just did that last week. I was looking through, I had a really full week. I had something every single night. And so on Saturday morning, I planned nothing because I knew that I needed rest so that I would not be running on mere empty fumes throughout my day. The reason why you feel like you're exhausted, for some of you, is because you're simply running on empty. You're simply not scheduling anything in your life. And if we plan, we'll actually have energy. So I want you to think for a second. Do I schedule my days? Do I schedule my weeks? Do I schedule my months? Do I schedule anything? Or do I just have the national holiday dates in my calendar that Google and Apple provide? It's challenging to schedule at first. It really is. When I started scheduling I started scheduling my work days, I started scheduling my weeks at a time, and then I started scheduling in months in advance, and I realized that it slowly but surely became easier. It's not going to be easy at first because anything that's cross-grained to what you've been doing is going to feel discomfort. You're going to experience discomfort, but as soon as you keep doing it, it's going to become easier and easier. It's hard for me to slow down sometimes because I just want to go. I just want to do. I don't want to spend too much time planning on something where I don't act on it. But planning and scheduling your days is really vital for success in any area of your life. So I encourage you to do so. And a simple way that you can do that is literally by using your phone calendar. This past week, I had a coffee date with a friend, and her and I decided on the date, the place, the time, and as soon as I had all that information, I put it in my calendar, I put the address in, and then I turned the travel distance on, and then I put alerts on there that said, okay, hey, this is when I need to leave here by when. As soon as the time came, I knew that morning, I was like, okay, I got that coffee date later today. And then I also knew, okay, this is how much time it takes me to get from here to there. So this is when I need to leave. And I didn't have to go look up on Google for the address. It was just all on my phone and there was no stress. I got there on time. Why? Because I scheduled it. You got to schedule things in your life. You got to schedule, like if you're a parent and you have kids that are in sports events, if you don't have all their different sporting events in your phone calendar, if it's a phone calendar or a paper calendar, if you don't have it all in one place, that is probably a reason why you feel like you're exhausted and tired all the time, because you just simply feel like you're going consistently all the time. And I encourage you, when you do schedule, when you do plan out your days and your weeks, put it all in one calendar. Don't have a calendar for, okay, I'm scheduling these things for work over here, I'm scheduling these things for vacation over here, and then I'm scheduling these for family events over here. No, put it all in one place, because then you know, okay, this is what is being taken from me this week, as in this is the energy I need to give, and then, okay, this is the day that I have free. So keep it all in one place. And when you start scheduling your days, you'll begin to see what is the priority and what isn't, which leads us to our second problem point of why you're probably running on empty, and that is you lack priority. Number one, you don't schedule anything. Number two, you lack priority. I was recently listening to a podcast where this business owner and content creator was talking about how there was a time in their life that they were running on empty, they were running on pure exhaustion, and they just weren't seeing any single progress in their life. She said, if I'm constantly losing every time, It's because I'm setting unrealistic expectations for myself. So she found that when she was not prioritizing the necessary things that needed to be done in her schedule, it resulted in exhaustion, subpar outcomes, low motivation, and it's because she lacked the priority in her schedule. She didn't prioritize first things first and then let everything else fall around it, and so she then resulted in running on empty. Sometimes it's that sometimes it's that you don't need to work harder, but you need to work smarter. And honestly, we start that by setting realistic expectations for ourselves, by setting our priorities right. Sometimes we think everything is the high priority, and that is unrealistic expectations, because if you think everything's a high priority, then everything needs 100% of your energy and your effort, and then you feel exhausted by you get to point 3, by you get to do 3, and you have 10, but it's because you didn't layer your priorities in your workday, in your family, in whatever it is. So to work smarter, you have to set your priorities. This business owner and content creator ended up rearranging her priorities to fit her schedule, and this resulted in her stress decreasing and her motivation increasing, because she set out what she needed to do first, and then she let everything else, like what was the first priority that she needed to do first, and then everything else fell in line. And so for me, when it comes to this podcast and prioritizing things, I know that I need to research the content, I need to write the content, I need to review the content to make sure it makes sense, and then I gotta record it. And I found that in order for myself to not stay up super late and just do everything that I mentioned above, I gotta prioritize these to-dos in my calendar. So I know my energy levels. You need to figure out where your energy levels are. And for me, I found that throughout the day and early evening that I feel my most creative. I feel my most just like the energy flows, and I'm like, okay, I can write this content, I can research, I'm in the zone. And so I scheduled my podcast, research, recording, I scheduled all of that kind of stuff. I scheduled the preparation in the evening right after work. And I resulted in, okay, the content was a little bit easier to write. I wasn't as distracted. I wasn't focused because I got all my work's responsibilities out of the way for the day. So now I can focus on just this episode. And after doing that for a little bit, I realized, okay, I can get ahead. I can write 2 episodes at once instead of 1. And it caused me to not stress about it, because I didn't have to think, oh my gosh, what am I going to say? Oh, when am I going to record this week? Because I know every Friday, I research my content and I write it throughout the weekend, even finish writing it on Monday, and then I review it on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday I record. And then it repeats every single week. It's in my calendar now. Like I said, if you lack priority, you got to get priority in prioritizing your schedule. What is it for you now? For me, it was my podcast. I realized that I had to prioritize this schedule in order to write content each week. So what is it for you? Is it that you want to get good grades? Well, if you want to get good grades and you never prioritize studying, but you do prioritize social events, you prioritize all the fun things, and then you're exhausted when it comes time to study, and you don't know why you're exhausted, it's because you lacked priority. You scheduled all these things leading up, and then you only left yourself time to study right before you went to bed, and then you end up sitting on your bed and you're just about to fall asleep, you're on your couch, you're studying, and then you're like, why am I so exhausted? I have no time to study. It's why you lacked priority. There's a principle called pay now and play later. You can either pay now and get your studying done out of the way, and then you're good for your test tomorrow, or you can play now and pay later and end up having to enjoy the event, but then later on you are stressing out studying super late because you just didn't prioritize. What if it's writing a book? What if you want to write a book and you never prioritize the writing process, and you instead prioritize watching your new show every week? You prioritize going out with friends, and then when it comes time to actually trying to write, you end up doing this right before bed. You end up doing it when just random times throughout, maybe you try to do it in your lunch break, and then people end up coming talking to you, and then you feel like, I'm so stressed out. I want to write this book, but I don't have time for it. I'm literally exhausted every time I try to go write this book. And It's all because you didn't prioritize. If you prioritize, okay, I'm going to get up a little earlier in the morning and I'm going to write for an hour. Or maybe it's right when you get off work like me. I'm going to take right off work. I'm not going to go home right after work. I'm going to go to a coffee shop and I'm going to write for an hour. When you prioritize, you're going to start seeing progress in your goals, progress in your life, progress in your relationships when you start prioritizing first things first. Maybe it's a house project that you have and you constantly fill your calendar with so many different things and you never say no to anything, and so you just feel like you have no time to make your house look like your dream house because you're simply just not setting aside time on the weekend to go look at Home Depot for the things that you need for your bathroom update. Whatever it is, you need to prioritize. Sometimes you are running on empty because you never plan your weeks or review your day. And in prioritizing, you may need to go through a season of no's in order to get to the yes that you want. There are times like recently when I first started writing content for this podcast, the very first episode, it took me probably 8 hours to just write the first episode because I was out of practice. And so I said no to maybe hanging out with some friends. I said no to watching TV. I said no because I was like, I need to have a season of no so I can have a yes that I want in getting this podcast launched. And by saying no, I was able to get the yes that I wanted, which was being consistent in writing podcast content. What are the things you need to say no to so you can have the right kind of yeses in your life? You need to prioritize. So the last area I want to discuss with you on what causes you to run on empty, it's because you try to operate outside of your wheelhouse. What do I mean by this? Well, I'm guilty of trying to have my routine match someone else's because I thought, well, if they can do it, then I can. When I tried to operate in this person's routine, it just really didn't work for me. And I was exhausted. And I had seen how other people had operated on little sleep before. And I was like, you know, if it can work for them, then it can work for me. I can stay up super late and get up super early and I can do all this kind of stuff. And I was exhausted. I was so tired because I was trying to operate in someone else's shoes that didn't work for me. Think about wearing, like when you were a little kid, you tried on your parents' shoes. You rocked around in these ginormous shoes and you would trip, you would fall, you would not be able to run, you wouldn't be able to walk normally because they didn't fit you. You got to find what fits you. You got to find the shoes, the routine, the plan that works for you. And I was tired all the time. I was on edge emotionally, mentally, because I was trying to do what worked for them. I wasn't trying to figure out what worked for me. I was like, I'm trying to do what worked for them because if it worked for them, then it can work for me. And I'll be honest, I toughed it out on someone else's routine because I was like, well, I'm going to look like a failure if it didn't work for me, when that's not the case. And honestly, you might be like me, where I wore exhaustion as a badge of honor because I thought, you know, this tiredness shows that I work harder than you. No, this tiredness shows that I don't know how to prioritize my responsibilities and I don't know how to say no. I don't know how to find what works for me. It doesn't show that I was working harder. I wasn't working smarter. I was working stupider. I don't think that's a word, but you get the point. So let's just say I've learned my lesson and I'm still learning my lesson and I'm finding what works for me. I know personally that I need a little bit more sleep than my friend did. My friend could operate on no sleep and be just fine. Me, I cannot. I need to have my sleep. So you may be trying to fit in someone else's routine. You may be trying to do what's worked for them, but sometimes what works for others doesn't work for you. Sometimes one thing they do works for you, but the 9 other things they do don't. So you gotta find what works best for you. Running on empty, we've seen, can be caused through not scheduling your days, not prioritizing your life, trying to operate in someone else's way of doing things instead of finding out what operates best for you. Running on empty is not a way that we need to live our life. We're not able to live our lives to the fullest if we consistently run on empty. So if you're in a constant state of wanting to reach a goal, but you never feel like you can get there, you're meant to get there. But we got to be aware of what causes us running on empty, and we also got to be aware of what the fix is to prevent us from going back there. So I want to give you a little acronym I like to call the S.P.F to help you stay away from running on empty in your life. So the S.P.F fix, what is that? Number one, schedule your days. For example, I told you earlier, my friend and I had a coffee day and we scheduled a time, looked at our calendars. I put it in my calendar. I put the address in. I put the travel distance in, and I knew that, okay, after I scheduled this, I didn't have to worry about what time do I need to leave. I wasn't consistently thinking, oh my gosh, what time do I need to leave today? No, I had it in my calendar. I scheduled it the night before, and I knew that it would take me this amount of time to get there, and I knew that I would need to leave at this time. So whatever it is, schedule your days, schedule your weeks, schedule your months. When you schedule in advance, you're going to reduce that stress, and you're going to be able to see, okay, I have a really full week this week, so I'm going to take Wednesday night to just rest. I'm going to say no to going out with friends because I know that in order for me to not run on empty, in order for me not to be exhausted for all my other responsibilities at work, my family, my friends, I got to take time to rest. Number two, P, prioritize your efforts. Look at what you prioritize. Does it get you to your desired goal? If not, move it around or cut it out. There is the example I told you of that business owner and content creator. She had these priorities that she shifted around that caused her to then have better results in her work, in her motivation. She was able to get more done. The stress was decreased. You got to prioritize what you need to do in your life. You got to prioritize, okay, if it's a priority to have a family night every single week, put it in your calendar. You got to schedule your priorities too, and that may mean saying no to going hanging out with friends because you're like, no, this is family time this week. What are your priorities? Schedule them and make sure that you don't say so many, learn how to say no. That's what I'm trying to say, is learn how to say no to the wrong things so you can say yes to the right things. And then F, find your niche. Find what works for you. What works for your spouse, your friend, your mentor even, may not work for you. Maybe some of the things do, but maybe not everything does. So you got to find what works out for you and do it. If you have all this planning, if you have all these things and you don't actually do it, you're never going to see the results. So what is the S.P.F fix? Schedule your days, prioritize your efforts, and find your niche. Well, today I hope you enjoyed the content and that you gained some practical steps on how to stay away from running on empty in your life. And if you were encouraged today by today's content, give this video a like, comment something that stood out to you, and hey, even share this with a friend that you feel like could be encouraged by this kind of content today. If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel and turn on your notifications so you never miss a new episode. We have new episodes every single Friday. Again, thank you so much for all of your support, and thank you for joining me today. I will see you next week.